Looking for some summer fun, my friends Alex, Kenny, Lydia, and I decided to float the Bighorn River in south-central Montana. Starting at Afterbay below Yellowtail Dam, we paddled 85 miles downriver, getting out just before its confluence with the Yellowstone River. It was fun to explore some new territory, see some great scenery, and discover the local flora and fauna. For the most part, the Bighorn River is pristine and beautiful. However, there are some old cars deposited as riprap along the banks, and there are a few misplaced houses along the way. The river is bigger than I imagined it, with swift sections and slow sections, and I think it was higher than usual for this time of year. Floating the river in mid-July, we found lots of black currants and some great wild salad greens. We hit some hot days with temperatures in the 90s, but we enjoyed the coolness of the river, floating and swimming all along the way, or sometimes just lounging in the sun while floating downstream. Camp offered the opportunity to practice core wilderness survival skills, such as starting fires with a bow and drill. There's nothing like a little competition to see who can get a fire first. We saw many deer along the way, as well as some wild cows who really did not like our canoes. Most of all, we saw tons of birds: pelicans, geese, sandhill cranes, blue herons, and cormorants. There are several diversion dams along the way, which can be dangerous at high or low flows, but we were fortunate to hit them just right. One unusual aspect of our float trip was that we picked up a roadkill deer on the way to the river, so we brought an entire deer worth of venison in the cooler. We stopped to make jerky along the way to avoid losing the extra meat to spoilage. We spent 5 days on the river enjoying new sights and more wildlife all the way. The river started out almost clear, but became increasingly muddy all the way down. We also saw tons of bald eagles along the river, more than I have seen in the rest of my life combined. We usually parked the canoes to go swimming, but there were a few slow stretches where it was safe to hop out of the canoes and float beside them. There is some really great clay along the Bighorn River for making pottery. We also harvested some farro wheat and had toasted wheat for breakfast one morning. The biggest hazard in the Bighorn River is all the downed cottonwood trees, but fortunately the river is big enough to easily paddle around them. Canoes are an amazing watercraft and tons of fun to cruise down the river in. Nevertheless, they do have their limitations, and it doesn't take much turbulence in whitewater to swamp a canoe. Time to turn the camera off and help save the gear. Lydia found her favorite thing, a nice buck deer skull, and I enjoyed my favorite part, botanizing and checking out the awesome local flowers. According to the guidebooks, the Bighorn River can be severely dewatered for irrigation in late summer some years. I found that difficult to imagine when the river was so deep and so wide. We had a delightful trip and perfect weather for the journey. I feel very grateful to have had such a fine float and great company.